You are broadcasting.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's March 3rd, 2022, 8:36 a.m. We're going to go ahead and get the meeting started. Let me just go ahead and read the statement here. Due to the state of California's declaration of emergency, the meeting is being held pursuant to authorization from Governor Newsom's executive orders. City Council and Commission meetings are no longer open to in-person attendance. Submit public comments to Public Works Director, City Engineer before or during the meeting via email smishra@ci.pinole.ca.us. Comments received before the close of the public comment period for that item will be read into the record and limited to 3 minutes. Please include your full name, city of residence, and agenda item you are commenting on. Any comments received after the close of the public comment period will be distributed to committee members and relevant staff after the meeting and filed with the agenda packet. Okay, so we'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll get the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I think, Mishra, you're managing the meeting, or we can do roll call, please?
Yeah, I will do the roll calls.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Council Member Dan Romero.
Present.
Council Member Maureen Toms.
Here.
Council Member Anthony Tave.
Here. Okay, as roll call, we'll go ahead and move to agenda item 3, citizens to be heard for items not on the agenda. Do you have any citizens to be heard?
No, there are no citizens present or want to speak.
Okay, so we'll close that item and move to item 4, announce appointment of Sanjay Mishra, Public Works Director. Sanjay, you could introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you, Council Member Dave. I joined the city of Pinole in December last year. I spent 2.5 months. I'm happy to be here. And for this particular meeting has been off for quite a while, and we wanted to restart it quickly, but it took me a while to get around all those details. And with the help of our also newly appointed wastewater treatment plant manager, who actually joined maybe a few months earlier than me, we try to prepare documents for this and get ready. And some of the documents which was published was withdrawn for this meeting, because of the Brown Act issue. However, we are going to be presenting a little bit of operator's report as a standard practice. Thank you.
Okay, welcome aboard. It is great to have you on. And it's good to be back in this meeting. So I think we could expect some great things, especially for this wastewater committee subcommittee coming up. I'm excited and again, welcome, and look forward to working with you. If we could, let's move to item 5. I'm wondering, protocol-wise, are we taking public comment for each item? And something like number 4, I mean, I don't know if this is a process thing. Andrew, do we take public comment for each item?
I think that would be the best practice, yes. So you can simply ask whether there's any members of the public who wish to comment on item, each successive item as you would get to it.
Okay, I would ask, is there any public comment for item 4? Just a matter of process.
Sanjay, any members of the public for item 4?
No, there are no members of public trying to comment.
Okay, let's see if we have any public comment for item 5. Operator's report.
No, there are no members of public for comment on this.
Okay, let's open up item 5. And would you do the operator's report? Is that Josh? Sanjay, is that
Yes.
you and Josh? Okay, great.
Do we have okay, there's the operator's report.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the operator's report. It's going to cover data for the period of October, November, and December of 2021. If we can move to the next slide, please. So the topics that will be included in the operator's report is the typical monthly flow data, the monthly performance indicators, and some project updates that we're working on. So for the monthly flow data, we made a couple changes to this slide since the last presentation. We've added the right to use flow amount that's included in the joint powers agreement. That's in the upper right corner there. Hercules has a right to use of 2.27 MGD per day average dry weather flow. Pinole has the right to use 1.79 MGD average dry weather flow. So we'll get into the monthly flow data for October of 2021. Hercules was averaging 1.5 MGD, or I'm sorry, 1.57 MGD. Pinole is averaging 1.49. For November, Hercules is averaging 1.34 MGD. Pinole is averaging 1.09. And for December, Hercules is averaging 1.75 MGD and Pinole is averaging 2.03. Obviously, with the rain in December, the flows were a little bit higher. Another thing that we added to this slide is just the overall percentage of flow between the two cities. So for each set of monthly flow data, in parentheses in the totals column, you'll see the percentage of flow for each city. Do you guys have any questions on the monthly flow data?
I do. I just wanted to confirm that the increase in flow from Pinole during December is mainly because of the intrusion of stormwater into the sewer pipes?
That's correct. We have I&I windstorm events occur. And so we typically do see an increase during wet weather months. And
have we identified, I mean, is it throughout the city or are there some, do we know where there's hot spots where we should have priorities on replacing those lines?
I'm going to speak to that. Currently, the city is in the process of a condition assessment for the wastewater collection system. We know some of the areas where there are hotspots, but the system is so old, we are pretty sure that we are actually getting I&I for a lot of different locations. So we would have a better idea by the end of our condition assessment, and we will provide those details as we move along.
Great, thank you.
And just as a semantics issue, it's not technically stormwater. It's intrusion and infiltration. Some of it's from rising groundwater, some of it's from illicit connections. It's not a combined sewer system where we're treating what we sometimes think of as stormwater, which is overland flows into the storm drain system.
If I could ask a question on that, when can we expect to see that report back? I know that it was I think we had budgeted a $450,000 report. What's the estimated timeline for that report to come back? And will it hit this committee first and then go to council, to both councils?
So we're working on two reports. One is the sanitary sewer master plan, and there's also a sanitary sewer management plan, which would actually take care of this condition assessment. And we have a draft report for the sanitary sewer master plan. And I would say, but the condition assessment, we haven't started yet. We just...
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we are just having our consultant and our crew getting ready to start the condition assessment. So our goal is to complete the condition assessment for the entire city before March of next year. So that's...
Can we estimate the INI or infiltration and inflows? Can we estimate how many gallons that is and the additional cost to our system at that point?
Well, the I&I, if you just compare the dry weather flow versus your wet weather flow, that basically gives you how much I&I you really get. Dry weather flow is you're getting most of the wastewater from the system, but during rainy season, because of all the intrusions, inflows and all that, that is where you really your the percentage difference is how you're going to get from those two.
I see. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions so far, or do we want to continue? I think maybe what we should do is
I see that for Councilmember Tave, I see that Councilmember Romero has a question.
Councilmember Romero, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Tave. And this is to Councilmember Tom's question. So you have root intrusion probably throughout the whole city because City of Pinole is a little bit older. And I don't know if the City of Pinole has ever adopted a sewer line inspection. City of Hercules back in 2009 adopted that, and I have to say that it's really helped our city. Root intrusion, you start getting big rains and you're getting the water drained down, and that's I think some of your problem.
We do
the
have
other
that.
question is I guess we need to get some clarification on the Pinole study, the $450,000 allocated for your study. And that has not come before this committee. So if it's strictly a Pinole study, then I'm okay with that. But I think if there's going to be any of this cost that's passed on to the waste department, the City of Hercules should have had some say-so in that. So we have done part of the update to the wastewater plant was also inspection of the pipelines, wastewater pipelines, to make sure we didn't have any breaks or water intrusion in there. So I think that's sort of been clarified. But I would ask some clarification on that maybe at the next meeting or with staff. Is that the cost of Pinole, or is that going to be a cost shared by both cities? And because from what I'm hearing right now, Pinole has a concern. So, but for Councilmember Toms, the intrusion during storms has been going on since I've been on this committee for 11 years. So, and it's amazing because, Pinole, what we have in the wastewater system is only half of Pinole. So during those rain events, half of Pinole has more wastewater than the 26,000 population of Hercules. So that's a prime example of the issue that you have. Yes.
Right.
So I'm happy to clarify. Yeah. So the way that the cost is allocated is essentially anything that has to do with our sewer collection system, similar with yours, is a cost borne by your residents. And anything that has to do with the treatment is a cost that's shared on a pro rata basis. So the study that we're undertaking that's about the sewer collection system, which is those pipes, lift stations and the like, that $450,000 is completely borne by the City of Pinole and its ratepayers. Just a point of, in response to a question Councilmember Tave, you asked, the report is going to be informational. So it's going to have an assessment of where the INI is coming from, what some recommended solutions are. So it doesn't really require any adoption by the city councils. And this is strictly about the city of Pinole's collection system, so it wouldn't go to the city of Hercules. It can come to this committee as an informational item. We wouldn't normally necessarily even take it to Pinole City Council as an informational item. When it becomes an action item is when the city council needs to make appropriations for the capital improvements or programmatic expansions that would be required to address the I&I. So it would come as part of either the capital plan or the regular operating budget. Otherwise, it's really just an assessment and recommendations. But I do think, it might be you all committee members can decide whether you'd like to see it presented as a future agenda item at this group, because I think it might be interesting to everybody, both on the Hercules and Pinole side, to see what was found. And there might be some findings in there that, are relevant to Hercules as well. Of course, Hercules has, as Councilmember Romero was mentioning, has much, newer infrastructure. So it's not experiencing the kinds of issues I don't think that Pinole is as an older community, but.
Right. Okay, well, thank you for the clarification and explanation. I think that it's something that we're just probably going to have to look at as things start to form up. Josh, if you could. Is that the end of this?
Chair, I think Mr. Roberts wants to make a comment.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm not seeing the hands go up. But go ahead, Mr. Roberts, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd be interested to know what it would mean if the Pinole I&I was reduced, given the cost share formula, but also the fact that the plant has to run regardless. So moving forward, for budgeting purposes, I think it would be informative to know what it might do to the cost, the overall cost of I&Is reduced in Pinole, and then how that might affect the pro rata share. So if that could be included in any future reports going forward, I'd certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Is that the end of the presentation for item, I think, 5?
No, we have a couple more slides. Just
okay, great. Josh, if you could, let's continue.
Sanjay, you want to scroll down to the next slide? So these are the monthly performance indicators that we track, and they mostly have to do with the permit requirements. The parameters are displayed here. The CBOD, which is a biological oxygen demand, TSS, total suspended solids, coliform, enterococcus, and ammonia. The plant has been running well. We didn't have any permit violations during this quarter for this data. The percent removal for BOD for October was 98%, TSS 97%, coliform is non-applicable. That doesn't track for percent removal. Enterococcus is by most probable number, which is 1.2, and ammonia was 13.3 milligrams per liter. For November, the BOD was a 97% removal, TSS 97% removal, coliform was all within range, enterococcus 2.0, most probable number, ammonia was 35 milligrams per liter. For December, the BOD percent removal was 97%, TSS was 94%, coliform was all within range, enterococcus 5.8, most probable number, and ammonia was 45 milligrams per liter. And I'll take any questions if you have any on the monthly performance indicators.
I have a question. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So as we've all found out during COVID that recently that wastewater has been a good predicator of what's going on in our communities. And I want to find out, has the county health department come to Pinole to talk about testing the water to see what percentage, if COVID is up or down?
I haven't heard of the county testing any of our samples. I don't know if Sanjay or Andrew, if you know of anything.
No, the county never reached out to us for any of those.
I know it'd be one extra thing to do, but it might be something that might be paid by, the federal government. And, it's just an indicator, I think, for a region. So maybe we could contact our Pinole actually would be good because Pinole has 2 supervisors. So maybe a quick email maybe to Supervisor Joya and Supervisor Glover to make the request of the county health department to check on that might be something that as we're doing our testing might be a good indicator. I also, will we ever get any notices about the chloroform, the enterococcus and ammonia? I show that is that something that we're showing, but we're just not testing, or is that mandated?
There is data for those. The coliform has a monthly limit, and they're just samples that are taken, and they do get submitted to the state. It's not that they're not getting done. It's just that they're all within a monthly limit, and they're not tracked within the parameters that are shown on this spreadsheet that we have.
So it seems like maybe we should, Josh and Sanjay, update the spreadsheet to somehow reflect a measurement of the performance on those, for those indicators. If it's not, the 240 monthly limits, but it's something else like yes, no meets state monthly average requirement or whatever it is. Let's find the measure that even if it's has a slightly different format and units than some of these other measures. So at least we're getting some data on the spreadsheet, on this dashboard.
I would be okay with that. A check mark or an X. So a check mark says yes, we're within limits. That would be a good indicator. Thank you.
Makes sense.
So I think that maybe we can send a letter to County Supervisor Joya and asking if there was that program. Because I think it's not just COVID they can be tested within the wastewater stream. There's other factors in there as well. But we're going to need a little help from Hercules because we're now in John Joya's district. They did move the lines back. So Dan, if you could help us out too, maybe it's 2 letters that go out from Hercules. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. Is there any questions? No? Okay, let's move on.
There's one more slide on this item.
Okay, great.
Okay, the last slide is project updates. I'll run through the projects that we have going on right now. The first one is the diesel storage tank replacement. It is in progress. The pricing that we've received is coming in higher than budgeted. So we're still reviewing the quotes that we've received on that and how we want to move forward. So Sanjay and I will continue to work on that. The digester cleaning project. The project is to clean two digesters, numbers 1 and number 3. I'm happy to report we are under contract now for that project. The project has an approximate value of $130,000, and it's scheduled to start in April of this year. The effluent pipe and air relief valve replacements project. We have 4 valves along our effluent line that we need to get replaced. With other projects going on, we've decided to defer this to the next fiscal year, although we're still working on getting pricing and trying to organize the project. The women's locker room project, we have made progress on that. We have a framed wall up. We have the shower in place. So we're making good progress on that. And finally, the effluent outfall capacity project. This hasn't been started yet. I just wanted to open this up, and you may see this as a future agenda item. As part of the last capital improvement project, one of the things that project was predicated on is the capacity to pump from the treatment plant to the effluent outfall. The Water Resources and Control Board wanted to increase that capacity to 14.2 MGD. The necessary upgrades were made at the plant, which is the capacity of the effluent pump station. But in order for that capacity to be able to pump all the way to the outfall in Rodeo, there were recommendations to make improvements to the effluent line near the Rodeo side, and also the outfall adductor needed some increase in pipe size. There's a technical memorandum on that from 2014. I won't get into too much of it here. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that it still is on the Water Board's radar. We will have to look into that and maybe talk about resuming design services at some point.
Okay.
And I will take any questions you have on these project updates.
Are there any questions?
I do. It's not a question on a current project, but it's something that I think we should have on our radar to think about perhaps a future project, and that is two items. Both the Adapting to Rising Tides program that was done by BCDC shows the wastewater plant in an inundation area, and the latest maps that are coming out of the state for tsunami warning also show the wastewater treatment plant in an inundation area. So I just want to put that on the radar so that as the city does its safety element and for any future projects, that we keep those risks in mind.
I'll just respond to that. The Water Board did circulate a questionnaire that had items relating to sea level rise and other climate change actions. We have an optional task for the sewer system master plan that may cover some of those items. And the city of Pinole is also doing work within community development that will potentially address climate change issues. So those are on the radar and they're in process.
Fantastic. Are there any? Okay, go ahead.
If I may, Councilmember Tavich, want to add on to Josh's comments and respond to Councilmember Tom's question. So as you know, Councilmember Tom's, the City Council just directed that we initiate work on a climate action plan.
Right.
It's becoming increasingly common for cities to develop not just climate action plans, but climate action and adaptation plans. So we're actually getting proposals for climate action plans with an adaptation supplemental task. And if the City Council approves that, then the consultants who do the climate action plan will also be looking at the issue of adaptation. They'd certainly look at our city facilities. There'll be land use approaches, interventions for adaptation as well, but I think that will certainly be addressing the wastewater treatment plant. So just wanted to add that extra info.
Great, thank you.
And then Councilmember Romero.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As far as the sea level rise and the tsunami warnings, I think it might be good to at one point have a discussion so that we give some direction as a subcommittee and have those documents ready in case there's any federal money that comes available. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the name of the game is shovel ready. So if we take the time to go ahead and do that process, and then as federal money comes up, then we're a little bit ahead of the game on that. So, and I don't see this as immediate. So, but I'll certainly be watching the Pinole Council meetings to see what the advisory report will come back at. Thank you.
That's a good point. Okay.
That's end of Josh's report.
Okay, so we can move on to, so are there any questions, further questions for this item?
I do not see any public comments or questions.
Okay, let's move on to item 6, I believe.
New connections for Pinole. We did not have any new connections in Pinole in the last couple of months. However, we have issued will serve notices to one developer at Vista Woods, and we expect to issue few more will serve letters, which is for the new development plans that is in the pipeline. Thank you.
Mike Roberts, no new sewer connections to report for Hercules. Thank you.
Okay. So is there any public comment on new connections?
No, there are no public comments on new connections.
Okay, anybody have any questions on new connections? Any hands? No?
Councilmember Tave, I just, after new connections, but before we adjourn, I just wanted to mention that on the Pinole side, essentially all of us staff that are now engaged with the wastewater treatment plant in this subcommittee are new to it. I think I attended perhaps one meeting early in my tenure when we were closing out the treatment plant upgrade project, but it's been quite some time. So we've got some fresh eyes for work on the subcommittee. One thing, so I think we'll be suggesting some modifications to the agenda that we'll present for the subcommittee's consideration. One of them, for instance, is, the subcommittee might want to have a standing agenda item that's a discussion of future agenda items so that the subcommittee members can suggest. Although it's not technically required by Brown Act bodies, of which this is one, to have written minutes. That's our standard process in the city of Pinole for all of our Brown Act bodies. So there'll be a standing future agenda item, which is the approval of the minutes. And we might want to make some other modifications to that as well. All of the city council, as was discussed earlier in today's meeting, is going to be moving to a hybrid meeting format starting with its next meeting on March 15th. That means that a quorum of the city council will need to be on site, quote, in person for those meetings. Other members can participate remotely. We are expecting that this body will move to a in-person or a hybrid meeting format for its next meeting. My understanding it meets on the first Thursday of on a quarterly basis, the third month of a quarter. So I expect that by the time the group next meets, it'll be in an in-person or hybrid format. So a couple agenda and meeting format changes that we're going to work through. As you noticed, there were some hiccups in our noticing invitations and publication of the packet for this meeting. We're going to work those kinks out and it'll all be up and running smoothly for the next meeting. So just wanted to catch that before adjournment.
Great, and I just wanted to ask, is there any outstanding issues that, well, I guess maybe we'll just handle that. If there are outstanding issues, that we get that to the city managers to discuss so that we could try to give a small report next meeting or have a portion in there where we can go over that stuff if there's anything that's coming up. But no, great. I think it's 9:10. Good meeting. Does anybody have any comments or anything before adjournment?
Chair,
No? Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank, first of all, thank Mr. Mashura for his promotion. And I also had the chance to read Mr. Binder's plant report and found it disturbing. And I just request that our directors, Mr. Mashura and Mr. Roberts, sort of talk about those issues. The plant is very new, and to see some of the corrosion that was occurring was disturbing. So, but
yeah, let's make sure that that's on the next go around.
I'm pretty sure
we have that discussion. Yeah.
So, but I wanted to thank Mr. Binder for that report. That was very clear, very well written, and sorry we couldn't address it sooner, but I did take the time to read it. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Any other comments?
Just briefly, new face to the committee, Dante Hall, city manager. So looking forward to working with everyone. I previously came from the city of Foster City, and Foster City and the city of San Mateo shared a wastewater treatment plant. Some of the same type of arrangements and a lot of the major projects. And so looking forward to working with everyone.
Awesome. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, everyone, we're at 9:11. I think got pretty efficient. Let's make sure we set up our next meeting. We'll go ahead and adjourn at 9:11. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
All right. We'll see you.
Mornings.
Okay.
Thank you
All
all.
right.